Indahnya negeri ini dengan hasil bumi yang melimpah. Dari hasil bumi, kita bertransaksi. Bertransaksi, jual, dan beli. Pasar adalah tempat kita berbagi rezeki. Tempat terjadinya denyut ekonomi. Penuh dengan informasi dan silaturahmi. Hasilnya bisa kita nikmati. Kesejahteraan masyarakat harus didukung keuangan yang sehat. Karena itu, perbankan sangat penting bagi industri keuangan nasional. Kepercayaan nasabah merupakan faktor utama dalam industri perbankan. Melalui fungsi intermediasi perbankan yang mendukung pembangunan nasional, dari hulu hingga hilir, ke seluruh lini, hingga ke pelosok negeri, LPS hadir sebagai lembaga yang melindungi nasabah dan mendukung stabilitas sistem perbankan melalui program penjaminan dan resolusi. LPS turut serta memelihara stabilitas perbankan dalam pembangunan nasional demi kesejahteraan Indonesia di masa yang akan datang. Dari kita, untuk kita. LPS, aman, tenang, pasti.
Alright, selamat sore. Good afternoon from Jakarta. First of all, our apology for the delays in starting this session. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well and excited for the day 2 of the international class, Temu Pendidik Nusantara. My name is Helmi, your moderators for today's class. Again, welcome and thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Maybe just quick check with my audio and visual is okay. If you see something distraction, please comment on the comments section too. I'd also like to know where our audiences are joining us from. So please, in the comment section, please let us know where are you from. Do we have people from Sumatra or Jakarta? Please keep going by write down on the comment section, and we love to see where are you from. Also, allow me to thank our partners, Yayasan Guru Belajar, Cerita Guru Belajar, Kampus Guru Cikal, Kampus Pemimpin Merdeka, and Teach First Indonesia. This event is also sponsored by Lembaga Penjamin Simpanan, LPS, Warda, and also NutriFood. Before we start, please allow me to briefly explain about how this session will be delivered for the next 50 to 60 minutes. Firstly, I invite you to take a screenshot or quote exciting parts of the session, and please feel free to post them on your social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you have on your phone. Also, don't forget to use the hashtag bergerak untuk berdampak, hashtag belajar di TPN 9, and don't forget to mention Temu Pendidik Nusantara and Teach First Indonesia. We have two speakers this afternoon joining us from Cambodia and Philippines, if I'm not mistaken. So each speaker will deliver their presentation for 20 minutes, and we are going to hear all speakers' presentation first. Then we will have Q&A session later on. If you have any questions, please feel free to write them down on the comment sections. All right, so let's meet the two amazing speakers we have today. So first speaker, if you can put the speakers on the screen. Ayu, thank you. So first speaker, we have Sabirah, Miss Sabirah Sulaiman. Sabirah is an entrepreneur, researcher, and millennial catalyst. Currently, she is pursuing her PhD economics at the University Utara Malaysia and working with economists under the research project in School of Economics, Finance and Banking, University Utara Malaysia. Previously, she involved in the volunteering for International Professionals Fellowship Program as an expert volunteers on social entrepreneurship and women empowerment in rural areas. Sabira also involved in over 100 projects and connected more than 10,000 youth in the fields of economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, social work, and environmental responsibilities across local and global level. Sabir also have been awarded to participate in the economic empowerment cohort of Young Southeast Asia Leadership Initiative Professional Fellows Program, sponsored by the U.S. Department of State. She is also the founder of Futurizing Youths through Entrepreneurship Project and co-founder mobile apps Explorism and social enterprise cooperation in her university. It's really an amazing background for us. So next speaker we have Mr. Marge Joseph C. Sardo, joining us from Philippines. He is an educational technology specialist under the Digital Instructional Materials Development Team and Digital Gateway Development Team of the DEP at ICTS Educational Technology Unit. As a young professional, he worked as a national evaluator of REX Education and regional or division quality assurance evaluator of the Depth at Science team for science learning material and kits. He also received prestigious international awards, recognitions, and winnings as an outstanding global innovative teacher, community leader, and SDG Youth Circle awardee. Really, what an amazing background of our speakers we have today. If you agree, I'd love to see a thumbs up on the comment section too for our speakers. So, without further ado, I'll hand over the screen to our first speaker, Miss Sabirah Sulaiman, who will be delivering the presentation about Think Global and Act Local by using practical learning strategies. Please, the screen is yours, Sabirah.
Right. Hi, hello everyone. I think like my bio that you have been used like a bit out. I mean like it is last few years. Right now, I did my PhD last couple of years ago, and I left all my startups. Like I left all my startup, and right now I am teaching as a lecturer in ASEAN Institute of Cambodia. So I forgot to give the updated one, and I believe that today is the things is getting late because of me because I came a bit late, and thank you for the patience. And I think I will go ahead with my presentations. I will make it short and simple, and I would love to have like more question if from the audience about like that you would like to know like more about practical learning and skills. So about practical learning and skills, typically it's referred to the abilities that employees acquire to perform their duties efficiently. So you can learn many of these skills without undertaking formal education or certification, which they may include interpersonal, physical, creative, hard or soft skill. So, for the practical knowledge, can often lead to a deeper understanding of a concept through the act of personal experience, where the theoretical learning is what is knowledge is about, and the practical application is how the knowledge learned needs to be implemented in certain real life situations, right? So, I think the next slide, you can go to next slide. All right. So should education system be more practical or theoretical? So when we see the present education system, especially in Southeast Asia, it is not sufficient. Like why? Because it is mainly based on theoretical knowledge rather than practical knowledge. Uh, in this 10 countries, excluded Singapore. So the abilities that employees acquire to perform their duties, as I said just now about the theoretical learning and what is the knowledge is about and practical application that needs to be implemented in certain real life situations, which is the learning practical skills subjects will help students to develop the aspect of real life knowledge, which is a student should be taught a practical skill subject along with academic subject for their brilliant life. So practical skill subject would give students the vital grasp about scoring to live self-sufficiently. So I believe that like when we have a practical skills are self-help and life-saving skills. So and this lesson that you can learn easily, or you can teach others easily and practice every day to prepare and protect your health or others. And most practical skills do not require special certification or formal training to perform, but you need do the like the educations, which is when you're studying, it is important to get hands-on understanding of your subject and how the theory you learn applies to real life situations. So this practical learning allows you to learn quick adaptations and need for daily challenges and scenarios that allows you to get a better understanding of your course topic, right? So the emphasis, I think the next slide, yeah. So why it is important? Because it helps students to develop the aspect of real life knowledge and deeper impact. So which is, I think I mentioned like earlier, like what is the what aspect of real life knowledge and deeper impact is that to be culturally aware, effective communicator is critical for success in today complex global economy, right? So all of that, like the emphasis on practice is infused into the curriculum and programming, which emphasizes learning by doing. All right. So all this practical learning allow us to learn quick adaptations that need for daily challenges and scenarios that allow us to get a better understanding of what we are really learn in theoretical perspective in a school or in a universities. So the core experiences which lead stimulating thoughts of the participant in conceive innovative solution to gain hands-on experience is very important, and with the teammates as well is required to build a real, for example, like in a business world, right? So to build a real business in the first year, for example, for the degree students, which give a participants more than just a startup experience. So, and this able to learn how to communicate, lead, work in team, manage obstacle, and see a plan through the completions. So they grow as a communicator and leader through a one-on-one session with a trainer or coach, and it is fundamental of the learning outcome, which is they focus precisely. Moreover, I think they also put up arts, for example, arts and humanity and history to explore the themes such as, for example, justice and inequality through the different perspective to discover how interpretations can be influenced by the context, values, and attitudes. So this richness of the content, experience, and value of the foundations is really matters to produce the quality of graduates, the graduates, whether in school or university, that we are going to create in the future at the end of the program, right? So, as I said, that at the end of the program, the curriculum itself, the course discover an innovative curriculum design for the changing business world. So to get a real world experience, the curriculum is built to offer the balanced educations, which fill with opportunities to learn business, for example, business fundamental alongside liberal art, for example. The course such as sociology and environmental sciences like that. So, by being a culturally aware, effective communicator, as I said, is critical for success in today's complex global economy, which is why the classes at certain university or certain school in Western world or in other part of the world are stimulating interactive experiences where the 50% of the classes will be in liberal arts to build critical thinking and communication skill for the modern business world, which 100% of the classes taught or led by the engaged senior teacher or senior professor with experience in business or entrepreneurship activities to mold the entrepreneur, like future entrepreneur. So where the conversation and critical thinking are encouraged in the classes. So I believe that uh, a flexible way to focus on the educations is required for all the student to advance, school or graduate school. So the student can choose from our different courses that they can offer in the school. So they can have a many areas that they want to explore and experience in real world. So the develop the program develop itself enables students to foster their own ideas regardless of their field of expertise. Not only, for example, if they are in entrepreneurship, an entrepreneurship student, right? So, but to all the student in the university, they may learn how to assess both the risk and potential of their ideas and to develop their ideas in a way that creates economic or social impact, for example. So I think this include engaging with a mentor, the innovative pathway program, or participating in one of the curricular activities. So I think this is how, basically, I think like the learning skills, practical learning skills, I compile with what, how, and why. So I think like pretty much I talk about it, and I hope that I will get like more question if anyone like want to ask. I'm happy to answer. So I don't want to like further. As I said that I will make it short and simple, and I will give back to Helmi. Are you there? Yeah. I will give back to the other speaker, and then we will come to the question and answer. Will be better. I couldn't hear you.
Sorry about that one. Thank you, Sabira, again for your presentations. Yeah, so I think we can proceed with the next speaker first before the Q&A session. So next speaker we have Mr. Marge Joseph C. Sardo, who will be walking us through on how to properly ensure quality, error-free modules, prior to releasing. So to Marge, the screen is yours.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Am I audible right now?
Yes, your life now,
All right.
Marge. We can hear you.
For a while, so let me share my screen. So before that, again, thank you so much for inviting me for this afternoon, and I would like to greet everyone who's watching right now. And I hope that you will learn something from my presentation. So again, I'm teacher MJ from the Department of Education here in the Philippines, and my topic is about. All right, so my topic is about this one. So my session is entitled Marites, or Marking Instructional Teaching Errors for Starters. So I am a current outsourced developmental content and language editor here in the Philippines. So basically, this topic will show you the basic ways on how we can evaluate certain teacher-made or student-made learning materials that we can use in our in teaching or in learning, especially in these times of pandemic. Right. So before I start, I would like to mention or to reiterate and highlight that the topic has an acronym which is known as Marites. So here in the Philippines, when we talk about Marites, it's someone that who has the eyes sharper than any binoculars with a mind and mouth made for data sharing, judging, and ultra speed. So we just need to adopt the concept of being a Marites here in the Philippines. So in short, a Marites here in the Philippines is a gossiper, a person who can see a lot of personal things that is going on to a person, and basically who can judge a person without considering the actions that they will have, or the negative actions that they will that will happen, right? So that's Marites. But in this specific session, the Marites is a very good character to adopt for us to be easily uh, recognize, no, some errors or some of the things that we need to avoid when creating instructional material. So we have here in our school here in the Philippines, in the Department of Education, there has been a report of the different errors that we have when we produce a mass amount of teaching and learning materials during the time of pandemic. So a lot of the errors come from factual errors, which will be shown later. We also have computational errors, format or font illustration errors, printing errors, spelling, punctuations, typographical errors, and grammars, including syntax. Right. So basically, those errors came from locally developed material. So if you're going to create your own material, because of the curriculum is changing and materials must be aligned with the curriculum. If I may recall, our topic right now, or our theme is about contextual curriculum. So contextual curriculum must highlight the materials that we need to use. It must reiterate the importance of evaluating our own resources, especially in the content part, and of course in the assessment part. So for our session guide, this will be, I will try to share it as fast as I can. We have here the learning content evaluation, the social content evaluation, the activity and assessment evaluation. All right, so for the checkup part, if you are, I just want to know, in one word, can you please describe what you feel today? So your responses will be recorded. I hope that you can type your one word that will describe you in your chat box or in any platform that you are in right now. Right. So let me skip this part. We will check this back soon. So as soon as we finish the topic. All right. So basically, we have here the first part of the session, which is about the learning content evaluation. All right, so evaluating learning content is really important, especially when you are going to create a teacher or a learner made or a teacher made learning materials. All right, so I will show you some of the examples of the errors, and I will somehow teach you how we can evaluate or pre-evaluate a specific material. So all of the materials were taken from the internet, especially produced here in the Philippines. All right, so we have here an example of a conceptual error. So as you can see, this is somehow um, a worksheet taken from a lower grade, or maybe a third grade module. So as we can see, um, the student needs to trace the specific letter with a given example of that a letter. So, say for example, the letter A starts with letter O. So, a specific fruit was given which starts with letter O. So, that's orange. And we can see that there is a conceptual error because, as you can see here, a specific animal type was given. So, if you're going to observe the animal, if you can see the word, it says ostrich, but the image is an example of an owl, right? So this is an example of a conceptual error. So we need to make sure that our text and our graphic or our textual representations and graphical representations will match each other, right? So moving on with the next example. So I have here an example of a worksheet which is in Filipino, our native language here in the Philippines. So I tried to convert it to English. So I'll read the instructions in English. So it says encircle the letter of the word appropriate for the illustration. So as you can see, the illustration is a girl and a boy who's talking to each other and a guy at the back. So um, the students were tasked to select the appropriate word that will represent or that will describe the graphic or the illustration given. So the first option, shameless. The next option, sharp tongue. And the last option is bonehead. So imagine if you are going to give this worksheet to a grade, say for example, grades 1 to 3 students, this will be inappropriate. So the error that is given or the error that is being shown in the presentation is what we call as misappropriation of the context. So as you can see, this will not be a good way to present descriptions because this is really negative and this is really degrading. Right. So we have another one, factual errors. So here in the Philippines, we have a very wonderful 30-meter high sculptured concrete head of the former President Ferdinand Marcos. So this has been taken in a social studies book, year 2009. So if we're going to use this illustration, in our current year 2022, this will become a factual error. Why? Because this sculpture was already destroyed in 2002. So 2012, sorry for that typographical error, that is 2012. So as you can see, we need to be careful when we are going to integrate or include images and of course factual information to a specific material that we are going to develop. All right, so we have a lot of errors that we need to evaluate. All right, so here in the specific example, we have here an example of a picture and an image and a textual combination. So we have here estuaries and habitat. So it was mentioned that estuaries are numerous or nurseries of numerous marine animals which depends on the breeding and nesting place. So one of the examples of this marine animal is a clam, a crab, and etc. So as you can see, we have here a mismatch of text and a mismatch of graphic representation. Why? Because as you can see, this is not a clam nor a crab. So this is an ancient or a specific type of a marine animal that is not really a crab or a clam. So these examples are taken from our current released instructional materials that wasn't that did not undergone to certain evaluation procedures. So I'm showing you the different errors that we need to take consideration of. All right, so we have this one. So as you can see, we have a lot of ways of conserving and protecting our marine ecosystem. The steps are given there, but there is a note below that this was copied from a grade 5 learning module. So as you can see, specifically in number 4, join coastal cleanup drive. Um, if you're going to evaluate and to think, if you're going to analyze the specific example, you will realize that number four is not appropriate to the skills and to the capability of grade five pupils, right? So, coastal cleanup drives and other activities or related activities are applicable to those adult individuals, right? So, this is one of the things that we need to consider. So, moving on with the social
So
content
much.
evaluation. Yes.
Excuse me. I'll just check in. Are you sharing the slides with us on the monitor?
Yes. Yes,
Sorry, but
I am.
unfortunately, I think we haven't got chance to see the slides on our
All right. I will
monitor.
try to share my slides again.
Yeah, probably better you can hit the present button first.
All right. Is it visible right now? Yeah. May I know if the presentation is visible right now?
Hello. We cannot see the presentation. But are you sharing the presentation now?
Uh, at this specific time, yes. Is it not
And now we can
presented?
see the presentation.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Right, so I will not. I will proceed to the next part of the session. So as you can see, we are now in the social content evaluation period session. So for this specific part, we are going to talk about the social content considerations that we need to apply when it comes to creating teaching instructional materials. Okay, so we have the first one. So this is an example of a situation wherein a specific um, person, specifically an artist here in the Philippines, um, is was used as an example to represent an obese person. So I will read the text. So the situation says that Angel Locsin is an obese person. She, together with Coco Martin, eats fatty and sweet food in Mang Inasal. So Mang Inasal is a fast food restaurant here in the Philippines. And in her house, she is always watching television and does not have any physical activities. So since we're talking about social content considerations, this specific situation example is, of course, an example of what we call as bullying. So why? Because basically we use a specific name, a person, or a name of a well-known person in the example, and to be honest, that this specific person is really um, a person of uh, an artist who gained weight after the pandemic, right? So as we can see, she was really represented directly, and her physical features were described in the module. So all of the children who are using this specific module will think that the person is an obese person. So um, there is a failure of representation. So if you're going to create modules and you wanted names or specific persons, uh, or if you wanted to use a specific person, let us consider if the words and the characteristics that we're going to use will not degrade someone, right? So that's the first issue in terms of social content. Right? In this specific example, you will see a specific gender role of a man and a woman. And the given characteristics are as follows: strong, sensitive, generous, responsible, careful, loving, strict, clever, romantic, hardworking, patient, good listener, breadwinner, cook, friend, advisor, and householder. So, as you can see, this is an issue of gender roles in the society. We all know that a man can, traditionally, a man is the person who will be the breadwinner of the family, but this is not applicable in the current setup of our society. Women also can be a breadwinner. Women can also be a hardworking person. So this is a false representation of the gender roles of people in a society. And imagine if we're going to present this kind of activity to a children or a student in grades 1 to 3, this will give them the stigma or the connotation that a man and a woman has limitations when it comes to gender roles in the society. So I hope that you can also consider this fact, right? So here we can say that we do not need to differentiate either explicitly or implicitly between the capability of males and females. All right. And then we have here a specific example taken also in Filipino module. So I will not translate the instructions, but you will see that there are lots of errors here in the module. So this was taken from a grade 4 module. And as you can see that the children or the person or the child took a knife from his mother and he will try to insert it in a plug. And then there is a big question mark here. This question mark um, will make a person or a reader be curious of what will happen if the knife will be inserted to a plug. So this will be a social content issue because we are going to talk about safety. And we can say that some of the readers, especially young learners, will find out what will happen and they will try to get a knife and put it in a socket so that they will know what will happen. Right? So this is one of the worst case of errors in creating modules. Right? So do not give situations that will encourage accidents, crime, violence, and vices. And of course, in modules, we need to promote health and safety standards and precautions, right? So next one is this representation. As you can see, um, this is somehow not funny to young learners, but to us adult readers, there is something wrong with this illustrations. All right, so I will not read it. I know that you are already seeing what is wrong with this specific illustration. So let us avoid using this one. So, and lastly, we have another one. So, what is wrong with this specific illustration? So, this is the farmer, and as you can see, the farmer has its own family, and there is a mother, a father, a children with torn clothes, so they're dirty and clothes with holes. So, what's the error that is present in specific illustration? So is it the clarity of the illustration? We can say that because it's really dull. Is it the appropriateness of representation, or none of the above? Right. So you can type your answers in your chat box. So we can highlight that the error or the largest or the biggest contributing error of this illustration is the appropriateness of representation. So as you can see, this will give an idea to our reader that farmers are basically poor, which is not true. So we need not um, to mention or to include or to implant ideas that will bring up discrimination to children, right, and to other existing jobs, right? So, all right. I can continue with the assessment and activity. So I can show you a brief example. And I believe because the time is running out. So we have the last part of this session. We can assess, we can evaluate errors, especially in assessments and activity. So this is a specific question I read from a module. So they mentioned this question: have you been to an estuary? How do you describe the place? So there will be an error in the first part of the question. Why? If you're going to ask this to a student or to a pupil, we will already know that the answer is no. Why? Because estuaries are really hard to find. Estuaries are really hard
Excuse,
to locate. Yes.
excuse me, Marge. Sorry, but I think your slides is not moving.
All right.
Yeah,
May I know
thank
which
you.
part of the slide is showing?
So we are currently viewing the slides of social content evaluation. Oh,
All
two.
right. I will.
We're
All
in
right.
slides 13, I guess.
S- Is this okay?
Yeah.
Can I show the slide in this uh, orientation?
Yeah. Also, because we are running out of time, if that will be much appreciated if you can wrap up your presentation in the next 1 minute, if that's
All
possible.
right.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right. So I will. Yeah. I am willing to share the presentation with you so that you can see the specific examples of graphical representations, including textual representations that we might encounter. So if you are planning to create your own teaching and learning material, and you will use images and you will describe those images and you will create your own questions, we need to make sure that we are going to evaluate the different areas of module or material creation. So basically, the first part, we need to check our learning content if we have conceptual errors, inappropriate use of words, factual errors, and text illustration mismatch. In social content evaluation, we need to look on the different social issues that we might encounter. Say, for example, will that material taps bullying topics? Will that material discriminates the different abilities of person regardless of age, gender, etc.? Or will that show us or will that promote health and safety standards and procedures? So lastly, we need to consider the type of assessment and of course the activities that we can integrate in those kind of learning materials. So basically, things that is impossible to answer will not be included in those kind of activities. And of course, the options must be similar with one another. So we need not to confuse students and to show them the right answer by giving answers that are not really related to the question. So, and of course, yeah, we need to consider the arrangement or the visual impact or visual um, representations of our activities. So, is it readable? Is it um, easily understandable? And of course, we need to avoid repeating graphical images and textual interpretations so that we can save some of the spaces, especially in creating contents and context in module creation. So with that, if you don't have any, if you have questions, I am willing to share the PowerPoint presentation and answer the questions later in the session. So again, thank you so much for inviting me. This is Teacher MJ from the Philippines.
Yeah. Thank you, Marge. Before we are heading to the Q&A sessions, I believe we will have a commercial break first. So please,
Saya penjual batik. Awalnya saya nggak pernah nyimpan uang di bank. Semua keuntungan saya simpan di toko. Kalau di rumah ya saya simpan di bawah bantal. Semenjak kena kebakaran, uang saya hangus semua sampai ludes. Habis. Semenjak itu saya sadar saya harus nabung di bank, nyimpen uang di bank. Ya biar aman dan tentram. Ya pastinya bank kita ya harus ada yang jamin, ya toh?
Simpanan Anda di bank dijamin hingga 2 miliar rupiah.
Nama saya Ibeng. Dulunya saya karyawan. Tapi kena PHK. Kok ya nggak kepikiran buat nabung. Nggak tahu kenapa males. Saya coba usaha angkringan. Alhamdulillah rame. Dari hasil usaha angkringan ini, keuntungannya terus saya tabung. Tapi nabung juga nggak sembarangan, harus di bank, kan ada yang jamin.
Simpanan Anda di bank dijamin hingga 2 miliar rupiah.
We're back again with us in Tamil Pandit Nusantara. Once again, thank you very much for Sabirah and Marge for your wonderful presentations. I believe our audience are also excited to ask questions. So do we have questions already from the audiences? Let me remind you, you may also raise your questions in Indonesian language. That shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so maybe while we're waiting for the questions from the participants, maybe let me start with Dr. Sabirah Sulaiman. So from your perspective, what would be your advice? The best way to balance between theoretical and practical for educators?
I couldn't hear you. Hello, can you
Hi,
hear me? Okay, yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Again, can you repeat again?
Okay, no worries. So I'm just wondering from your perspective, is there any advice from you? What would be the best way to balancing between theoretical and practical for educators?
What is the balanced way to practice for theoretical and practical?
Just to deliver the best of theoretical and practical.
All right. So for me, I think like theoretical knowledge of skill-based subject needs to be supported by practice. Right? So it is how the balance came. Like theoretical is important, but practical is more important. Because for example, like subject like teaching and engineering are skill-based, right? So in this subject, practical knowledge is more important than theoretical knowledge. So practical work includes like experiments in laboratories, study tour, project, assignment, and etc. And sometimes, like right now, I am teaching right in Cambodia. So most of the students, I have like two difficult things, which is I need to make them digest the courses itself in English medium. So it's very hard to make them understand because some of them can't talk English at all. So what I do is I try to balance the class with practical and theoretical, which is when after I teach them theory, so I do like study tour. For example, I teach them cultural, right? So I talk about what is cultural. Cultural is about the way we think, behavior, attitude. It's not only about food. It's not only about the clothes we wear, but it's only a part of culture. Is part of education as well. So to make them understand, when you keep talking to them, give them the knowledge, they couldn't understand because they couldn't sometimes even understand the language, right? So what I do is that I bring them to visit church, mosque, pagoda, and different like different places like faith, to learn themselves, like to experience real life. When they know about the things, how the things going, like through their observation, through the experiment, through their experience. That is how we can balance that from the starting point. Because when I talk from this like local to global, right, so we should start small first. Like how we can make fun, like make the education so fun, like teach them a real world, how the real world works, how to be a street smart. Sometimes like students smart in a classroom but they are not street smart. When they bring them to market, they don't know how to handle things there. So that is what is important for me, like to give them balance in the class, for example. So that is one way. Yeah, thank you for the questions. Like, yeah, I think like did I answer the questions, like uh did I answer the questions, like is that need any further explanations? Ah, you cannot hear me? Can you hear me now? But I am talking.
Hello. Sorry, I think I lose connection.
Alright. So do you need I repeat or how? Because I did answer the questions.
Yeah, no worries.
And
I got
all
the
right.
highlights of your questions. Thank you very much for that one. I think we have one question
They can
addressed
hear.
to
I mean,
Marge.
they can hear my answer. I think maybe your connection's like
Yes,
breaking.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry about that. It comes from my end. We have next question addressed to Marge. Can you hear me? Sorry, can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Marge, the question is the curriculum in Philippines sufficient to accommodate students' needs in general in all the Philippines?
Hello. Yes. I can confidently say that the curriculum is sufficient enough, not sufficient enough, but is highly sufficient to support the student needs, especially in this time of pandemic. The only error that we found out are the teacher-made learning materials that is locally created. So, um, if we're going to review the curriculum of the Philippines here in our country, we can see that there are lots of continuing learning plan activities dedicated to students, especially to survive the negative effects and the challenges that the pandemic has brought. So basically, our challenge is to determine or to see the different teaching and learning materials that teachers in schools who did not submit their teaching materials to be evaluated in the national level, um, that is where the problem starts. So, even though the curriculum is perfectly crafted to support the learners in this time of pandemic, the errors are usually coming from the teacher generated materials. So, which did not undergo evaluation since we are all forced to transfer or um, to convert our educational setup in a traditional to a virtual environment. So all of these are effects of the pandemic. That is why we here teachers in the Philippines, quality assurance evaluators are gathered around the Philippines or the country to make sure that teacher-made materials will be evaluated carefully. So I believe that the curriculum has nothing to do with it. Thus, the problem starts with unevaluated learning materials. Right. So I hope I answered the question correctly. So thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you much. Let me see if we still have any questions from the participants. If you could, please, you can write them down. I think we can accommodate only one questions before close the session now. Hey, if you didn't have questions, probably I'll invite our speakers, Dr. Sabirah, thank you so much. If you have any closing statement and insight from this session that you may share with us, maybe I'd like to start with Dr. Sabirah first.
All right. So what I can say is that the design, I mean, like the learning outcome to deliver a practical education in real world rather than to focus on the classical education that provided by many other like school or university of today's, which is the core courses, elective courses and intermediate courses, compare to other courses like like so in a nutshell, like for example that the study that I have done before like with Malaysia and compare with the Babson University, I want to see the foundations of the program that they offer. So follow the descriptive statistic of that analysis. uh, it explains the result of the broad spectrum indication profile of the students' characteristic, education background, where the soft and hard skill, personality, and behavior of the uh, participant and risk-taking behavior is very important uh, to learn in real life skills. So that is why I said that skills are very important, like learning skill, practical skill, because it should like it should teach you a life skills, right? So to improve a mental well-being, self-awareness and mental health, self-esteem, social media, from bully to role model, and improve financial literacy and so on. So this all will foster healthy communication and interaction as well, to building a healthy relationship, to promote an effective decision making, right? So to setting young people up for the success in near future. So that is what from me, and yeah, thank you so much for having me here
Thank you so
today.
much.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Marge.
All right. So again, our topic is about contextual curriculum. We need to highlight that curriculum can be a backbone for us and a guide for us when we are creating instructional materials, especially locally made. I just want to reiterate the importance of checking the credibility, the proper representations, the social content, the language, and the content evaluation. So I believe these are important for us to consider in creating learning materials that we will use in our teaching and learning classroom, because a teaching material and of course a teacher will have a high impact to the students learning. So if we will present a teacher material with lots of errors, basically we are injecting we are sacrificing our student safety, and we are sacrificing our students future. So it is highly um, recommended to make sure that all of the things that we will implement, that we will use in our teaching and learning, undergone a rigorous and a deep evaluation procedure. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Marge, for the invite. So that's the end of our session today. Again, we are very honored to have our amazing speakers, Dr. Sabirah, Sulaiman, and also Marge. Thank you so much for joining us, and I invite our participants to give a big round of applause to the speakers so much.
My
I'd also
pleasure.
like to thank our partners, Yayasan Guru Belajar, Rita Guru Belajar, Kampus Guru Jika, Kampus Pemimpin Merdeka, and Teach First Indonesia, and also our sponsors, Lembaga Penjamin Simpanan Warga and Nutri. We hope you have a great days wherever you are, and good luck with what any endeavor that you working on now. So thank you very much for everyone joining us this afternoon. And yeah, see you in Temu Pendidik Nusantara next year. Bye, everyone.
Dengan pengumuman ini, maka pengurus bank diminta agar tidak meninggalkan Indonesia guna penyelesaian likuidasi.
Pada tahun 1997 hingga 1998, badai krisis moneter dan perbankan menghantam Indonesia. Masyarakat berbondong-bondong antri di bank dan ATM untuk menarik dana mereka.
Presiden meminta Menteri Keuangan sama Gubernur BI untuk mengambil langkah-langkah menghadapi permasalahan ini di perbankan. Bank yang sudah tidak bisa ditolong, tutup aja. Bank yang masih bisa diselamatkan, ya apakah harus merger atau langkah-langkah lain supaya dibantu. Nah itu nanti bulan November itu dicabut izin 16 bank.
Kekacauan terjadi di mana-mana. Situasi chaos ini disebabkan hilangnya kepercayaan dari masyarakat terhadap perbankan. 16 bank saat itu kolaps.
Wah ini bagaimana? Uang saya hilang. Bayangkan kalau orang waktu itu uangnya ratusan juta aja udah besar sekali. Sehingga bulan Desember itu ada surat dari Mensesnek ya, kepada BI dan Menteri Keuangan untuk membantu, eksplisit disebutkan, keluarkan BLBI, bantuan likuiditas Bank Indonesia. Itu Desember itu.
Berdasarkan pengalaman pahit atas tumbangnya 16 bank, Undang-Undang Nomor 10 Tahun 1998 tentang perbankan dikeluarkan.
Saya melihat BPPN itu selalu babak belur berhadapan kalau diadu dengan Undang-Undang KUH Perdata. Saya kemudian bilang, saya mau untuk membangun LPS itu dengan undang-undang. Nggak mau saya dengan PP. Gitu.
Pada 22 September 2004, Undang-Undang Republik Indonesia Nomor 24 tentang Lembaga Penjamin Simpanan disahkan. Berdasarkan undang-undang ini, LPS merupakan lembaga independen yang berfungsi menjamin simpanan nasabah penyimpan. Lembaga ini pun turut aktif dalam memelihara stabilitas sistem perbankan sesuai dengan kewenangannya. Setahun kemudian, tepatnya pada 22 September 2005, LPS resmi beroperasi.
Negara-negara lain juga masih mengalami krisis ya. Di Australia, perbankan juga, kemudian di Singapura, Malaysia, Hong Kong. Tapi terus terang waktu kita mendirikan LPS, kita banyak mengadap model dari inilah, Kanada gitu ya. Karena memang itu model yang cukup bagus lah itu diambil gitu ya, mengenai lembaga penjamin simpanan. Jadi waktu itu memang pemerintah sudah menyiapkan ya kan undang-undang LPS. Saya ingat waktu saya di asuransian di Kementerian Keuangan, tugas saya memang selain katakanlah melakukan pengawasan, juga tugas lainnya adalah diminta menyiapkan undang-undang LPS.
Major financial institutions have teetered on the edge of collapse, and some have failed.
Krisis keuangan yang berawal di Amerika Serikat pada tahun 2007, dampaknya mulai dirasakan ke seluruh dunia, termasuk negara-negara berkembang pada tahun 2008. Di Indonesia, imbas krisis keuangan tersebut mulai terasa terutama menjelang akhir 2008. Dampak krisis keuangan global yang paling terasa adalah ketatnya likuiditas di pasar uang antar bank. Penurunan harga saham yang tajam, potensi meningkatnya kredit bermasalah, serta derasnya aliran modal keluar yang menekan nilai tukar rupiah. LPS pun memasuki babak baru dalam pelaksanaan fungsinya, yaitu untuk menyehatkan kembali PT Bank Senturi Tbk. Upaya yang ditempuh nyatanya berbuah manis. Bank Senturi keluar dari status dalam pengawasan khusus oleh Bank Indonesia pada 11 Agustus 2009. Kinerja keuangan PT Bank Senturi pun terus diperbaiki hingga memenuhi ketentuan tentang kesehatan bank. Pada akhirnya, sejak 3 Oktober 2009, Bank Senturi secara resmi berganti nama menjadi PT Bank Mutiara Tbk.
Pada tahun 2014, bulan November 20, kita lakukan RUPS LB, penjualan pengalihan saham dari LPS kepada pemenang, yaitu G-Trust dari Jepang. Ya. Perusahaan yang juga bergerak di bidang keuangan, yang mempunyai aktivitas investasi keuangan di luar Jepang, yang telah juga dinyatakan oleh OJK lulus dalam fit and proper test. Harga yang disepakati 4,4 triliun, ekuivalen dengan recovery rate 55%, ekuivalen dengan price to book ratio yang 3,2 kali. Ya. Jumlah ini 3,2 kali jauh di atas rata-rata price to book value dari jual beli perbankan di Indonesia yang 2 kali. Ya. Perlu kami sampaikan bahwa indemnity tidak diberikan oleh LPS. Kita menjual bank apa adanya tanpa mengakseptasi risiko-risiko yang muncul di kemudian hari.
Dalam perjalanannya, DPR dan pemerintah mengesahkan Undang-Undang Pencegahan dan Penanganan Krisis Sistem Keuangan atau PPKSK. Undang-undang ini memberikan mandat baru bagi LPS, terutama dalam penanganan krisis keuangan. Sidang paripurna Dewan Perwakilan Rakyat pun menyetujui pengesahan Undang-Undang PPKSK secara aklamasi pada 17 Maret 2016 dan diundangkan pada 15 April 2016. Undang-Undang PPKSK juga memberikan kesempatan kepada LPS untuk masuk lebih awal ke dalam bank sistemik yang mengalami permasalahan solvabilitas. Langkah ini tentunya untuk menentukan resolusi penyihatan yang tepat.
Dengan sekarang disahkannya Undang-Undang PPKSK, peranan dan tantangan LPS menjadi semakin besar. Kalau pada saat yang lalu adalah betul-betul menjaga dan memberikan jaminan bagi simpanan masyarakat di perbankan, peranan LPS sekarang meningkat menjadi pelaksana program restrukturisasi perbankan.
LPS juga memperoleh metode baru dalam penanganan bank sistemik seperti halnya pengalihan sebagian atau seluruh aset dan kewajiban kepada bank lain atau disebut juga purchase and assumption. Kemudian, LPS dapat melakukan metode penggunaan bank perantara untuk menerima pengalihan sebagian atau seluruh aset dan kewajiban dari bank sistemik tersebut, serta penyertaan modal sementara yang telah diatur dalam Undang-Undang LPS. Undang-Undang PPKSK juga memberikan mandat kepada LPS untuk melaksanakan program restrukturisasi perbankan atau PRP dalam kondisi tertentu, seperti krisis sistem keuangan dan permasalahan sektor perbankan yang membahayakan perekonomian nasional.
Di dalam proses yang paling terakhir khususnya, itu perlu ada penguatan. Disinilah peran LPS, tugas dan wewenang LPS tidak lagi hanya sekedar menjamin simpanan masyarakat, tetapi juga memperkuat proses penanganan bank. Dan di dalam Undang-Undang PPKSK ini, tugas dan kewenangan LPS itu menjadi lebih luas. Dari sebelumnya hanya paybox plus menjadi juga sebagai otoritas di bidang resolusi bank.
Perkembangan sektor perbankan yang dinamis seiring dengan adanya kebutuhan internal membuat LPS melaksanakan program transformasi. Dengan latar belakang Undang-Undang PPKSK, program ini diawali dengan perubahan visi dan misi LPS. Visi LPS adalah menjadi lembaga yang terdepan, terpercaya, dan diakui di tingkat nasional dan internasional dalam menjamin simpanan nasabah dan melaksanakan resolusi bank untuk mendorong dan memelihara stabilitas sistem keuangan. Sedangkan misi LPS adalah berkomitmen untuk menyelenggarakan penjamin simpanan yang efektif dalam rangka melindungi nasabah, melaksanakan resolusi bank yang efektif dan efisien, melaksanakan penanganan krisis melalui restrukturisasi bank yang efektif dan efisien, dan berperan aktif dalam mendorong dan memelihara stabilitas sistem keuangan nasional. Berdasarkan data per Agustus 2021, jumlah rekening simpanan yang dijamin LPS telah mencapai di atas target, yaitu 99,92%. Atau lebih dari 360 juta rekening. Angka ini melebihi target yang ditetapkan Undang-Undang LPS sebesar 90%.
Jadi sekarang saya tidak takut lagi buat nabung di bank yang lain dikarenakan ada penjamin yang namanya LPS.
Saya merasa senang. Ternyata itu benar-benar LPS itu menjaminnya 100%.
Alhamdulillah itu udah ada info dari bank, di bank itu sudah ditangani oleh LPS. Saya senang lah. Terima kasih kepada LPS.
LPS yang menjamin uang kita. Terima kasih LPS.
LPS bersama anggota KSSK yakni Kementerian Keuangan, Bank Indonesia, dan OJK melakukan koordinasi dan komunikasi secara intensif demi terciptanya sinergi kebijakan untuk menjaga stabilitas keuangan dalam rangka mendorong pemulihan ekonomi nasional.
Di usia 16 tahun ini, LPS berkomitmen untuk terus berinovasi dan memperbaiki diri karena kami sadar amanah yang diberikan dan tantangan yang kami hadapi semakin berat. Kami berkomitmen untuk menjaga kepercayaan nasabah perbankan melalui program penjaminan simpanan dan resolusi bank. Pada kesempatan ini, izinkan saya mengucapkan terima kasih kepada seluruh masyarakat Indonesia atas dukungannya kepada LPS. Kami juga mengapresiasi pemerintah, DPR RI, regulator, dan industri perbankan yang telah bekerja keras bahu-membahu dalam menjaga stabilitas sistem keuangan dan mendorong perekonomian nasional.